So, gate reviews provide management specific points in the project lifecycle when further progress entails higher investment and commitment. So, that is from the Project Management Institute. What it means is simple. A gate review is a chance to stop and check whether the project is still on track before spending more time and resources. So that concept goes back to a person by the name of Robert Cooper, a Canadian scholar and business and innovation specialist who introduced the stage gate model in the mid-1980s. And since then, it's become a widely adopted framework in product development. At each stage, the team does the work, and at the gate, the management decides, do we keep investing? Do we make changes or cut our losses? In practice, a successful gate review confirms that the work so far is solid and the risks are under control, the scope makes sense, and the plan still looks good. And everyone stays committed and the project keeps going. Of course, not every review goes smoothly. Sometimes expectations have to be adjusted and the team will have to continue under new terms. Sometimes the project even gets canceled if it's not clear that it's worth pursuing. In industry, this is when organizations would, in effect, save themselves from sinking more time and money into something that they realize is just not going to work. And the later the gate, the higher the stakes because more time and resources have already been committed. So different methodologies handle this differently. In waterfall projects, gates are formal checkpoints. In Agile, they show up as sprint reviews or retrospectives. And hybrid approaches blend the two together with lighter, more frequent reviews plus the bigger milestone gates. And by the way, don't worry if these terms like waterfall, agile, if these are all new to you, we'll get to them later in the course. But for now, the important thing is to see that gate reviews show up in every approach, even if they look a little different. Another thing to keep in mind is that gate reviews are not only about the work itself, they're also about how well you present that work and communicate it to others. In industry, it's not enough just to have a good design or a functioning system. You also need to inspire confidence in the people that are funding the project. And that can feel unfair because you might think that, well, like we've worked so hard and built something solid, but they don't get it, or even they don't understand the technology the way we do. But that's the reality. As much as it is your job to build the solution, it's also your job to communicate your progress clearly at a gate review. And if it helps, think of reviews as checkpoints that you've already experienced in your academic career. A midterm exam or a design critique or even a job interview. Those are all moments where someone else evaluates your progress and decides if you're ready to move forward. And a gate review kind of works the same way, except that the stakes are tied to whether the project itself continues. In this course, we'll handle that in a way that mirrors these realities. Because if your team is mostly on track, but there's a few areas lagging, you'll get a conditional pass. You'll have 2 weeks to fix the issues and then redo the review. And that window, by the way, it's not free time. You'll be doing the makeup work while you're also trying to keep pace with your planned work, so expect a heavier load if that happens. And if you don't fix those problems, or if you fail the gate review twice, then the project stops and you fail the course, which is it's a hard line, but it reflects how real projects work. At certain points, decision makers will simply not let things continue unless they see clear evidence of progress. So you're going to go through 3 gate reviews this semester, and each one will focus on a different milestone. So the first gate review is all about the interview preparation. Are you ready to meet with your sponsors? Have you researched the problem space? And do you have questions prepared so you can understand their needs? And then the second gate review is about use cases and user stories. Have you carefully mapped out the user interactions? Have you thought about what could go wrong? Because at this point, the sponsors should only need to make minor adjustments. And then the third gate review is focused on your project plan. What is your plan for executing the project? And what are the timelines and deliverables and the responsibilities? And most importantly, will your sponsors feel confident handing you a big budget to carry this out? So We'll provide a lot more detailed information about each of these gate reviews when we get closer to them in the schedule. For now, it's enough to know the general focus of each one so you can keep them in mind as you move through the early phases of the course. Now, these reviews aren't just about checking a box. They're about how well you present your work in industry, and you're expected to convince your managers, your sponsors, and the investors that your project is worth continued funding, and that means you have to do clear communication, organize your materials, and have the ability to answer questions directly. So you think of it this way, is that gate reviews protect organizations from pouring resources into a project that's not working. NASA, for example, has canceled missions at gate reviews when technical or budget risks became too high. One example was the Mars Surveyor 2001 lander. It was built and then canceled before its launch because of the loss of its predecessor, the Mars Polar lander, that exposed flaws in the design and the testing process. And the gate review did its job. It stopped the mission that was too risky to continue. So companies do the same all the time. A technology firm can cut a product line if the market changes, or if a consumer brand might, they could stop development when the expected return on investment no longer adds up. So these decisions are, well, they're difficult, but they prevent even greater losses down the road. In both government agencies and private companies, gate reviews are all about discipline and accountability. In this course, gate reviews serve a similar purpose for you. They protect you from drifting too far off track, and they give you structured chances to pause and reflect and reset as you need. They also prepare you for the kinds of professional checkpoints that you'll face in jobs and internships, whether it's a design review, a client presentation, or an internal progress check with your manager. But now here's the truth as the way we do it here in this course. In this course, we'll do our best to keep you from failing. If you fall behind, we'll push you, and we may have to have you work twice as hard to get back on track. But you'll have the opportunity to succeed, but that path might not always be pleasant. And yeah, it's possible to fail this course. Students have failed in the past when they didn't do the work. But we'll do everything we can to keep you moving forward, but the responsibility to deliver, still rests with you. So take the gate reviews seriously and do the work on time, and you'll have no problem moving forward through the gates and reaching the finish line.